almost 75% of the GPU capacity in India is owned by YOTTA. India has got today, let's say, 15,000 GPUs in total. Almost 10 to 12,000 GPUs are owned by YOTTA. You will hear from the government and from various leaders how almost all the AI startups who have built up great models in India, they have all been running on YOTTA's GPU. So what India presents is just immense.
Sunil, it's a pleasure to have you here today. Thanks for coming. I would like to start asking you to introduce yourself and telling us a bit about YOTTA.
Thank you for having me here. My name is Sunil Gupta. I am co-founder, MD and CEO of YOTTA Data Services. YOTTA is a 7-year-old organization, so we are pretty young that way. And we are working across 3 layers of the data center stack. At the fundamental layer, we build data centers which can be taken up by people who can be wholesale colo customers or who can be enterprise retail colo customers. So as a group, as a company, I own large parcels of land. I have built a very large 2 gigawatt campus in area called Panvel in Mumbai. And I have created a 250 megawatt campus in an area called Greater Noida near Delhi. These campuses can have multiple data center buildings, as you can presume. And I have brought in power lines by default upfront as upfront investment. I have brought fiber paths from multiple paths. I've done my own underground ducting, so that the fiber which is running along the highways can come into my campus and start getting into my buildings. So I've created all that foundational layer upfront. Because the promoter company which has funded YOTTA is a very large real estate company in India called Hiranandanis. So some of the skill sets around land acquisitions, around government approvals, feasibilities, power, these come naturally to us. Beyond that, what we did is that because we knew that we are working on a very, very large scale, so we, instead of depending on third-party consultants and experts, we decided to insource majority of the skill sets. So today, whether it is designing and architecting core and shell, or whether it is designing and engineering MEP of a data center, even for the hyperscaler with the most demanding customers, or whether it is post going live and post commissioning, I have to operate the data centers. I do it all with my own team. I don't depend on third parties. Of course, I use the people to supply material to me, to supply some focused expertise to me. But most of this skill set, because I own it and I insource it, so my speed of execution becomes very, very fast. And on a larger scale, you can see it also brings a lot of economies of scale as well. Second part is what we decided that instead of just doing co-location, right, in India, which obviously is large, big, but the primary customer for co-location, as is there for most of the operators in the industry, happens to be hyperscalers. And you've got 3 hyperscalers in India like Amazon, Azure, Google. We thought that that area, while it keep on going at a CAGR of 20-25% in the next 10 years, thankfully, cloud is going to go growing organically, enterprise demand is growing organically, and AI has come on the top, which will take the demand to maybe 3 times, 4 times than the original projections. But we thought that instead of remaining concentrated on the bottom layer itself, where there's so much of competition and commoditization is happening, why don't I work on the upper 2 layers as well? And the second layer I operated, because of my own background. I worked 10 years in NTT. I was running NTT in India before this. And before this 10 years, I was running Reliance Communications, data center operations. And I had a background of providing cloud and managed services on the top of data centers. So I started building my own sovereign cloud layer in YOTTA right from day one, which automatically means that you're getting into much higher level of complexity. Suddenly you get into thousands of people who are knowing that technology is running on the top of data centers. And obviously automation, practices, processes, many, many things come into picture. I ended up acquiring some startups who actually developed my cloud, but because cloud becomes so strategic for me, so I ended up acquiring startups, and today I've got almost 300 people engineering team, which only focuses on development of various features of my cloud. And because my whole positioning is sovereign, son of the soil, built in India, for India, completely following the laws of the land, no conflict with any other law of the world.
Amazing.
I have got a huge success in Government of India. Some of the largest data centers of Government of India are managed by YOTTA now. We have put our own cloud in those data centers, white labeled as government cloud. Yesterday, actually, we launched the Government of India's Additional Secretary, CEO of India Immersion, came into our event in Delhi yesterday, and he announced the porting of government's one of the largest AI application called Bhashini to YOTTA's cloud. It was a master project. We did it over a period of 6 months. It was a migration from Azure cloud. It was a great, I would say, vindication, I would say, and a validation that a sovereign cloud built in India can handle some very, very critical, massive workloads,
Wow.
right? Serving billions of people coming on that, because that is a language translation portal.
Yes, yes.
So that is the second business
Impressive.
we do, and we are always scaling it bigger and bigger. In a way, you can say that in China, beside the hyperscalers, you have Ali Cloud and Tencent Cloud. We are trying to follow that path. Can we be the Ali Cloud and Tencent Cloud of India? And the third layer which we do is basically 2 years back we took the call that we should get into the AI journey, AI infrastructure journey, because it very logically falls into my complementary set of services. I am owning data centers, power, fiber. I know how to run cloud, I have got skill sets available. So getting the GPUs into it and the orchestration layer on the top of that to serve AI workloads for training and inferencing was a very logical extension for me. Of course, that means you are investing 8 times more capital than what you typically do for data centers. We got into this, Nvidia supported us like anything. I had a chance to meet Jensen when he was in India. He prompted and motivated us that you are the right guys who should be doing this.
What a great incentive.
It was a great incentive, and after that, Jensen is making sure that when he is in India, he always will give a time to meet, which is a great honor for us. Whenever I am in US, I attend Nvidia's annual conference. Jensen will always meet personally. So this always, and beyond that, in the last 2 years, Nvidia's India's team and Nvidia's global team, they are working with YOTTA as if we are one team. You know, there's so much of technical and go-to-market and every type of support available. We are one of their 6 largest, they call it reference platform architecture partners in the world actually. Today, because of what we have learned and invested in India in the GPU layer in the last 2 years, it's a big learning. But we are almost 75% of the GPU capacity in India is owned by YOTTA. If India has got today, let's say, 15,000 GPUs in total, almost 10 to 12,000 GPUs are owned by YOTTA, which are in use by majority of the government organizations, which are in use by majority of the startups and IITs, which have been funded by Government of India to make India specific language models. So you will hear in the next week when India Impact Summit is there, you will hear from the government and from various leaders how almost all the AI startups who have built up great models in India, they have all been running on YOTTA's GPU. So we feel very happy that obviously we had our own learnings both on the how to fund this infrastructure. It is very, very costly affair, and how obviously go through the technical nitty-gritties of this new technology. But I think we have come a long way. There's a long way to go further. We are learning, but the opportunity what India presents is just immense.
If I can summarize, you're talking about basically 3 parts on YOTTA where YOTTA is involved. It's the infrastructure itself, which goes from providing the correct fiber optics, the building, all the infrastructure. You guys are within the cloud solutions, and also now you guys are up to your own AI platform.
Yeah.
That's very impressive. I'm very glad to hear that's a local company doing all of this in India.
Yeah.
And I have a first question to you, and I think that was, if I can say, one of the hottest topic recently and one of the biggest things we were discussing during the panel today. It's the announcement from the union budget about what they're calling the tax holidays for foreign companies providing cloud service in India for the next 20 years. What's your view on that?
As I explained in the panel also, and I have been at pains to explain it to various news agencies also ever since the budget was announced, all the cloud operators in India, including hyperscalers, they are serving Indian customers till date. Whether it is Indian enterprises for their enterprise workloads, whether it is Indian e-commerce portals, or even the global customers who are coming to India to set up their India operations, right? Essentially, Indian companies again, all the cloud operators are serving those Indian demands till today, because nobody want to miss the India market, right? It is a 1.4 billion people ultimately who are consuming anything digital come in their way. So any and every cloud operator, social media operator, e-commerce operator want to be in India to capture this big market, right? And that was the big attraction for people to come and build data centers and cloud in India. But the market which was not there in India so far, and which government is trying to take with this tax holiday provisions, is what they are saying is foreign cloud operators, if they bring foreign demand, that is, let's say a Amazon Hong Kong want to serve or Netflix Hong Kong. Hong Kong does not have data center capacity, but they can very well serve it from the Indian data center operations. So till now, if there was something like this, which was not in India at all, the global demand, and you try to serve it from the Indian data center, from your Indian cloud capacity, naturally the local government will say that you are doing whole lot of value addition in India. So you will have to pay the tax on the value addition you have done in India. You will have to, and then because this is very abstract, there is a whole lot of discussions about what is the value addition you have done in India, what is your margins on the cost in India, so how much tax you will pay. On that particular piece, which is foreign cloud operator serving in foreign currency, foreign customers, on that particular business, government has said there will be tax, 20-year tax holidays. Now just imagine, it is just broadening the Indian data center market to, let's say, 10 times, because that market was not there in India. Every cloud operation in India was to serve Indian customers. You are now trying to bring the foreign customer. Why foreign customers should go to a Singapore or a Johor or any other pocket which are serving the rest of the APAC, for example? So cannot India become the APAC hub instead of Singapore and Johor? So you are creating a new market without putting any disadvantage to a local player. Second, what government said is, if there is a local cloud entity, they want to give services of their cloud to their parent entity, let's say in their parent country. Again, the same context came in, that how much value addition you are doing in India, we'll try to assess and we'll tax you on that. It used to be a problem for all the tech companies. Like tech companies are outsourcing skill set from India in a big way, GCCs, right? But so far, none of them in a major way are outsourcing the data center infrastructure and operations from India. So for a Cisco or a HP or a SAP or a GE or all these companies, what India is trying to convey, besides outsourcing skill sets from India, you also bring in your data center operations in India. And when you give the services from your data centers in India to your parent company, we will only assume your margin on your cost to be only 15% fixed, right? So there will be a determination. No questions asked, no tax authorities will hassle you, will simply say pay tax only on that 15% margin. So it is not a tax reduction, it is basically giving a deterministic feel so that the investors feel safe and happy to invest into India. This is the second part. Again, it does not give any disadvantage to the local player. If these foreign operators are serving Indian customers, the budget clearly says you will have to create an Indian entity, which all these foreign cloud operators already have, and you'll have to serve the Indian customer from that Indian entity. And on that business, which is their the de facto business today, you have to pay the regular corporate taxes as a typical Indian cloud operator also is saying. So there is no disadvantage. But see now the positive part of this. Almost 90% of the underlying data center capacity, the cloud operators are outsourcing from the Indian data center operators.
Okay.
So when you get this tax holidays and these cloud operators start bringing the global demand also, just imagine the effect it will have on the amount of data center capacity India will create. This business will go to Indian DC operators and the whole ecosystem below this, whether it is the manufacturers of UPS or generators or transformer, the whole ecosystem is there.
It involves the whole ecosystem, yeah.
Absolutely. So it's a fantastic budget. I seriously feel there's some very serious thinking. I was pleasantly surprised when I heard. On the headline, I was concerned, oh, it means the domestic players will be at disadvantage. But the moment you deep dive into the provisions, I really felt there's some very, very smart mind sitting in the government.
That's the very first thing.
Exactly.
You might thought that it could be a disadvantage for the local player.
Exactly.
You are one of those, I would say.
Yes.
But no.
Yeah, no. See, I can see a very, very small area where there can be a, you can say hypothetically a disadvantage, that if I as a cloud operator try to serve a global customer for my cloud services, I'll have to pay taxes, while a foreign customer, foreign cloud operator will not pay tax for that transaction. But the fact is, the Indian cloud operators who are working on the cloud services, which is my second layer of business, we all are very clearly positioning ourselves as sovereign cloud operators, because we are saying for serving Indian government, Indian enterprises, your data is very important. You don't want to put your data onto foreign cloud operators, so you come to me. So my entire target segment, my entire positioning is towards sovereign, which means Indian customers. So it is a very hypothetical one area that if I tomorrow start serving foreign customers in a very large way, competing with cloud operator, there may be a tax disadvantage, but I think it's a very, very minute area. As a whole, I would say it is a fantastic budget provision. It is going to increase the size of the industry. It is going to benefit Indian operators, DC operators in a big way instead of disadvantaging.
Yes. Let's talk about power. With the demand on AI growing, I would say every day, the average power required for a chipset in the past, 5
Yep.
kVA.
Yeah.
Now we're talking on 20, and Nvidia announcing chipsets
Yeah.
at 300.
Yes.
We're talking 6 times more power required, so
Yes.
density increasing.
Yes.
How do you see that? I have heard about SMRs in the US. We're talking about small leading reactors, so nuclear power. What's going on in India in the sense to support all this power demand?
All these things have happened so fast that everybody is obviously trying to react to it. It's a large opportunity, nobody wants to miss it. In the last 2 years, the whole AI ecosystem and the narrative in India has become so large, from a state of nothing in India to a stage where literally everybody is talking about, doing AI in India, for India, and also for the world. Hyperscalers are coming, they are announcing 1 gigawatt, 500 megawatt type of campuses in India, not for regular cloud. That is the organic growth they in any case are having, but for AI. If you see this, that ChatGPT has got now largest numbers in the world, which are Indian users, right?
Okay.
Anthropic's largest number of users in the world are Indian users.
The 2 biggest LLMs.
Exactly. So it is but natural that if those AI model operators have to serve their largest customer, which is Indians, they would not want to serve it from costly US data centers where even latency comes in, cost also is very high. Very logically, they would like to serve that demand from India itself. So all that demand, whether it is Indian enterprises adopting AI models and AI, agentic AI and AI, agents and all, whether it is Indian language data sets based AI models coming in, which is the local market itself, or whether the global model builders actually bring their models in India to serve the market. From all perspective, this market is going to go crazily high. We can see that in the last 2 years. Now, it naturally means that the data center capacity underlying will have to keep pace. So what is happening, you're right, that from a stage where just about 7-8 years back, the industry was happy making a 6 megawatt data center with 6 kilowatt per rack. They graduated to 25 megawatt data center buildings, and maybe the density increased to 9 kilowatt, but it was still manageable, right? But now we are talking about, even right now, because I'm a GPU operator, I'm running hundreds of rack in a single server hall which are consuming 60 kilowatt per rack. And my next set of GPUs, which are B300, which I'm coming up with in the next literally 6 months, are all going to be liquid cooled and they're going to consume 150 kilowatt per rack, right? What it means is, number one, the data center design and engineering itself is undergoing a fundamental change. One is the absolute amount of power which you have to put in. So instead of a single building consuming 25 megawatt, you'll have to make a building of 50 megawatt. The same footprint, but the density increases, the power increases. Second is that the cooling architecture changes completely, because now the water from the chillers does not stay just in the periphery of server halls. You actually take the water pipe inside below the rack, and then you take the pipe inside the racks into the equipment and terminate in the GPUs in the memory chips itself. So it's a completely different, I would say, extremely complicated design. It brings its own dynamics. So from a skill sets point of view, execution point of view, vendor supply chain point of view, these are all new things which the industry is tackling. I was an early, I would say, adopter, because I was bringing GPUs, so I had to tackle them before any customer gives me a GPU demand. As a colo operator, I became my own customer and brought my GPUs, so I had to tackle these things at a ground level myself. So it is a good learning for me. But yes, engineering level, everybody will have to understand. It will be very difficult to retrofit existing data centers. Some of us may be able to do that if we have got, those, I would say, setback areas or enough areas in our buildings to put in additional generators, transformer, chillers and all, to suddenly increase the power in the building to double. But most of the data centers which will be handling AI of future will be completely greenfield data centers, purpose built for AI, because the density seems to be very, very high. And on the overall, and the second part, of course, is that air cooling will not work. It will have to be liquid cooling, because with so much of power, the PUE has to be as low as possible. And with liquid cooling, the promise is 1.1, 1.15 GPU, sorry, PUE. So you'll have to go for liquid cooling. That has become the norm itself. Air cooling cannot handle a rack beyond 15 kilowatts per rack. You have to go for liquid cooling any which way. And yes, good part is India as a country is not short of the power generation capacity itself. We are power surplus country. Big part of that is green power actually. We are, I think, the third largest in the world in terms of green power production. What is a challenge in India is obviously the last mile. The power lines coming into data centers. We had to literally bring power lines from 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers away. We had to put substations in our campus. But I would say that is a part of a project execution. On one side, we build our data center buildings. On the other side, we start doing this power transmission lines coming to our data center, putting power substations. There's enough government support. All the state governments are competing with each other to attract data center players into the state. So there's enough policy support, enough regulatory support. I think they're handleable challenges. But yeah.
Talking about the future or futuristic technologies, we have heard Elon Musk talking about putting data centers around the globe, the space.
Right.
And we have been hearing about not only the liquid cooling, but the immersive cooling.
That's true.
Which is the next step.
Yes.
I would like to hear your thoughts.
I think both these things which you're talking about are coming again from the fundamental need of that these chips which are processing literally unlimited data on a continuous basis, both for training the model and later on for inferencing on AI, will need humongous amount of power. And of course, when they need humongous amount of power, you have to cool them also, and that also needs power. So how do you optimize and bring so much of power, and how do you optimize the usage of power? So putting data center space means the power is available 24/7 from sun itself, right? So you don't need to generate power. That is a fundamental reason. And now that you also have space-based, low orbit satellite-based internet also available from whether it's Elon Musk company SpaceX or Amazon who's doing a project Kuiper. Many Indian companies have done a tie-ups, So besides the terrestrial fiber-based internet, soon the world will also see satellite-based internet, which will be giving you as much speed or even higher speed than fiber-based internet. So if you have got the connectivity available from space, which is covering the whole earth, and if you can build a data center in space, which are like free power 24/7 from sun itself, it makes a logical case theoretically in future. When do we do that? When this become feasible commercially and technically, obviously we will see that. But that is the fundamental reason why people are talking about building data center in space. And yes, in terms of immersion cooling, I always felt that this direct-to-chip cooling, which we all as industry have adopted today, is an interim step, because here, at the end of the day, it becomes very, very complicated. You are bringing so much of water pipes inside the server hall, and those pipes then get into the rack. Inside a rack, you have a manifold, and every single equipment has a pipe going in, and you terminate water pipes on various chips inside the server. It becomes extremely complicated. If you just see the server, even if you implement it one time, it's always a challenge that later on if there's a problem, how will you troubleshoot that, right? And if there's a small leakage anywhere, if there's a pressure problem is there in the whole water loop and all, there can be challenges and all the stuff. So the most promising technology, which is my personal opinion, is immersion cooling, where you just have a tank with a special dielectric liquid and you just immerse the whole equipment there, and it's just done. That's it. No cables, nothing, and it becomes so simple.
It's very, it goes against our natural thinking, right? Putting equipment inside the liquid.
Yes. I mean, it goes...
Very controversial, right?
Exactly. No, you're right. I mean, just imagine 10 years back, we used to say a complete no to water inside the data center. Water at best used to remain a periphery of server hall. But water never used to be there. In fact, we as an industry player used to avoid water-based firefighting also. We always used to have FM200 and Novak 1230 as a cooling, because we said if water comes to equipment will get damaged and all. Industry has completely done a roundabout turn now, where we are now taking water not only up to the rack but inside the equipment itself, terminating on the chip. And the final, as you said, immersion, will be just dipping the whole equipment into the water itself. But I think if you have to handle this type of densities like 250 kilowatt per rack, 500 kilowatt rack and all the stuff, which are the reality of the future, that will be the best technology, which also will give lesser operational hazards. But I think the industry is just waiting, and that's what I think heard Jensen also saying, that ultimately industry just need to mature that technology, make it very, very foolproof, because we are going to put equipment worth millions of dollars into that. You cannot take a risk of the equipment getting damaged because of that. Once there are enough pilots, enough proofs that technology works, I presume that will be the technology of the future.
Sunil, is there any final message you'd like to send to our audience, to our global audience? As I told you, we have hundreds of thousands of people watching us on YouTube.
My message is, I would say as a proud Indian, that India offers a opportunity like nowhere else. We are 1.4 billion people. And out of that, more than 1 billion people are connected to internet, and mostly through the smartphones. 1 billion people who are creating and consuming content every single minute. We are extremely digital savvy. We consume content like anything. We create content like anything. And I'm very sure once you start having lots of use cases of AI coming in which benefit people, right? Whether it's in agriculture or healthcare or education or banking, finance, media, entertainment, like n number of use cases, people will be gobbling that up. India just need a right price point. The Indian customer is always very cost conscious. You give them the best product at the lowest price point, but you will be making money because the India offers lots of volume. So India is a place to be in for if you want to go for a larger market for your digital products. But also India is a market where you can create. India is creating the right data center ecosystem, right? We are already 1.4 gigawatt, will become 3 gigawatt by 2030. With AI coming in, we don't know where India will go, but we have the capability and the best quality data center products to go to 6 gigawatt, 7 gigawatt, 10 gigawatt. Now, players like us and many others are also bringing GPUs, the best of the reference architecture type of a Nvidia reference architecture type of a GPU clusters in India. So India will also be able to deliver AI trainings for largest of the models. India will be able to deliver inferencing on AI models, not only for India, but for the rest of the world. India has the best talent also to develop your AI models and agentic AI things. India is known for its software and services capability. So what I would say is my simple message in one line is AI from India, AI for India, and AI for the world.